I want to talk about this online debate about whether or not you would be stuck in the woods, your choice between a man and a bear. And I'm going to tell you, as a woman, we all know that the answer is bear. It's bear. It's bear. And if you can't understand that, if you don't even want to try to understand that, then I can't say anything else except the fact that you are living a very privileged, pampered existence of an ignorant, stupid man. I mean, I think podcast over, but anyways, let's talk about it. All right, I'm coming in hot on this one because I think it's just a very frustrating um, conversation to be having as a woman, and as a black woman, the type of restrictions that I have on my life, the type of restrictions all women have on their lives solely because of men. I remember, I think there was another video a few weeks back when a woman was just saying, like, if it wasn't for men, like, do you know what kind of freedoms we would have as women just to like live our lives, just to roam around without this fear? Like, she was like, think about it. And I was like, I don't want to think about that because that's like the most depressing true facts that I've heard in a really long time. And um, I remember when uh, that realization really dawned on me. So I think as a woman, you try not to think so much about the oppressive freedom, that you have on your existence for safety reasons because, men. Um, and, I remember when I went away to university, and it was more prevalent because I was living on my own, and it really felt restrictive on me. So like I had to, do things within certain hours. I had to be very careful about going to campus at night and like taking these things. And luckily, my university had like a buddy system in place. But I mean, just not even having the freedom to go like to get home, I had to like wait around and waste my time and wait for like an escort. Like they had like, it's actually a really great service. They had some like a team. It was like uh, two people that would like walk you around campus after hours just for safety. And it was a great experience. But I mean, I remember just being like, I just want to go home, like it's been a long day. But I was like, the responsible safe thing to do to avoid predators is to, use this service. So I remember just, having that restriction. It was just the first real taste of, um, you know, having that restriction, something I didn't really want to have to wait around, but I thought I have to, I should, I want to be as safe as I possibly can. I was just, that person. I'm not a risk taker. I'm not. I'm super conservative with my risk taking, I should say. Um, and yeah, it's one of those things. So I remember just that was really my first taste of being like, fuck these guys. just, and I just remember that was one of those real times where I was just thinking, of that woman saying, think about all the things that we do as women, to that we have to do because of the existence of men. And so, back to this bear debate. So, um, once at some point in your life as a woman, you come to the realization that you have to do a lot of things, that there's a lot of injustice and unfairness about how you have to be, because there are dangerous men out there. And so, this conversation around The bear is just that the a bear is more predictable. Its instincts are more um we just feel like there's more that we can do to avoid a bear attack. A bear is more predictable in some ways. I mean, even if it has like, it's a rabid, crazy, man-eating bear, I'm still choosing the bear. I'm still choosing the bear. And, how many bear attacks are there and how many assaults are there on women by just random men, even men that they know? Google it and you'll find your answer. That's data and statistics of why women are going to choose the bear time and time again. And it's really frustrating because this conversation about like, oh, not all men. And the fact is that our social systems empower all men. Men benefit from the system of powerlessness and fear that women have to operate under. You know, one of the more powerful statements that came out of this debate, and I think, really drives it home was, someone said, if I was attacked by a bear, people would believe me. And I thought, yes, the not only do women that are assaulted by men, have to deal with the trauma of that assault, they also have to deal with the trauma of how our society deals with victims of assault and abuse. Nobody, if you get attacked by a bear, you're going to be supported, and 100% people are going to be behind you, and it's going to be traumatic, but you are going to have universal support out there for you. So again, bear, it's always going to be the bear. So I was talking with one of my friends about this, and we were just having a very interesting conversation because we are both. I'm, a Black woman, and she is a woman of color, and she presents as Indigenous, and she's not, but she lives and works with Indigenous people. Like, she speaks Ojibwe. She's like it. She just presents as Indigenous, and so she often receives a lot of discrimination and racism directed towards Indigenous people. And so we often have conversations about this, and we were talking about this bear debate that's going on online. And it was interesting because we talked about this added level of safety and security that women of color have to have to observe because of racism and the devaluing and dehumanization of our lives. So as much as all women, white women, women of color, Black women, we are villainized and not mistreated if we are assaulted by men. That is also the there are men that specifically seek out and attack it and abuse and kill Black women, women of color, specifically because of their, white supremacy and their perception that, these women are less likely to be uh, missed or, you know, basically it's, in some cases it's an easier crime because of racism and white supremacy that, you know, they're going to be less pursued by police and, the criminal justice system because they're just not going to be it's not going to be seen as such a high crime because it's not being executed out on a white life. And so currently right now, and like on our west coast of Canada and in British Columbia, there is like, missing Indigenous women. And it's believed to be the work of, a serial killer that is specifically attacking Indigenous women because they know that it's not going to get the media attention, it's not going to get the resources of, law enforcement and policing, because they don't value women of color's lives as much. And so, again, it's just something that my a friend works very closely on and works on as well. So, and I talked about how when I was in university, and also something that was top of mind because I was thinking that Indigenous communities in Canada are particularly discriminated against. And it's just very fascinating to me because everyone in Canada, when you talk about racism, everyone automatically thinks of anti-Black racism, and Indigenous racism against Indigenous communities is very, very prevalent here in Canada. So we just talked about that extra level of racism and protections that women of color have to observe because there are men that will use that to their advantage. The over sexualization again of women of color as well is often, times something that we have to also safeguard against ourselves because, every woman, if they're attacked, is going to be asked for, what were you wearing, or is that appropriate, or, did they have a previous relationship? You're on trial. And so, that is even magnified even more. Because women of color are over sexualized and, seen as some sort of, I don't know what, extra temptation to these men. And, the rebuttals that we've been seeing online are just weak and, a case of men just not really truly understanding the day-to-day lives that women have to, the burden of what it is to be a woman in the world. And it's really just a really frustrating exchange because, there are men that'll be oblivious to the bad behavior of their friends. They'll be unaware of, the situation around them where a woman is incredibly uncomfortable around, a strange man. The people will saying like, oh, this is why, why are women, pretending to be interested in a man? If she's not really interested, just say no. All she had to do was say no. There have been instances of women dying for just saying no. It's like, it's life and death out there for us. We don't know. It seems like a simple thing, but we know that we can be in serious danger simply for, not being polite enough, not being smiley enough, not giving out that phone number that could cost you your life as a woman in this country. And I don't mean like, you know, 50, 60 years ago. I mean like now, 2024, right now, men feel entitled to have access to women. It wasn't that long ago that women were considered property, and men still believe that now. And it's not anyone, it's literally any woman. They feel entitled to it. It's like, oh, women don't want to get married, women don't want to have children. This literally is enraging certain men about what women choose to do with their lives. Men feel that they have a say and need to control. Look at what's happening with women's rights and abortion. These are all methods of being able to control human beings. These are all things, and men are feeling like they're losing that power. And we have to tread carefully. We have to tread carefully. And I don't think that if you don't want to understand this, if you don't want to understand this phenomenon, it makes you uncomfortable, if it makes you angry, if it makes you scared, if it makes you, reflect on maybe some things that you've done in your past and how you've behaved and acted, then you know what, stay ignorant and stay off the internet. But if you want to learn something, if you truly want to, learn about what life is like for a woman and maybe how you can make a space safer for women to be in so that we can be more free and be more of ourselves, then listen and learn and grow and change and be better. So ultimately, I think that this question is becoming so crazy, and it spurred me to talk about it, is because that, I'm so shocked that so many men don't get it. Like the fact that people that identify as a man, and like, so many cisgender men don't understand that the danger that, they pose to a cisgender woman, not to mention like, transgender people, queer people, non-binary people. The fact that they just don't get it is, I think, what women find so incredibly shocking, is just that it's so obvious to us that the choice is there. So I'm going to end by saying this. If you are confused by this question, if you don't understand why, women, although it's incredibly frightening, you don't want to be, trapped with a bear in the woods. You don't want to be alone with a bear in the woods. But if you are so confused by this question, you don't understand why women are choosing bear, then I would suggest that you really ask them, just stop shouting about why you're so offended by this, and, just do some research, ask a woman, and, listen, truly, truly listen, because the answer is definitely bear. As always, thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.